I'm absolutely convinced that James Cameron, Jim, is the most important media creator, the most important director, the most important movie producer that we will see in our entire lives. It is a tremendous honor to have you with us today. You want to come on up? So we're going to get to how do you encore. Well, let me tell you. Let's just review the list. Rambo, Aliens, The Terminator. Pretty good. That was in the 1980s. Right, so what are you going to do for an encore? Well, you do all of that. You get to know the governor pretty well before he was governor. Terminator 2, all the other things. By the way, learning about special effects, driving change in the industry. And then you decide to do Titanic, which makes the most amount of money any movie has ever made. It gets the most number of Oscars. So then you think, okay, that's like the late 90s. What am I going to do next? And you think, what is the single riskiest thing I could possibly do? I will take every conceivable technical risk. I will put it into a single movie, and I will attempt to make money. And you do this, and you make a factor of 5 times more money than Titanic. You change the course of movie making in the future. My only question is, what's next? At this rate, the next movie is a $10 billion movie.
No. Well, thank you for that build-up. And by the way, no pressure at all. And I just want to say, before I answer your question, that I'm like incredibly honored to be here tonight with this room of people who are smarter and better educated than I am. And I'm certainly honored to be interviewed by you, Eric. I appreciate this very much. What's next? Well, I've just announced as of yesterday, again, I think it was in the trades today, that we're doing a second and third Avatar film. I'm going to direct those. I'm committed to direct those. And we're going to do them as a kind of conjoint production, where it'll be 4 years before we release the first one, and then the second one will come out a year later. So the second and third will form essentially the second and third acts of a greater story arc, but they'll also stand alone.
And tell us the plots.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And if you think I'm going to say that, now you can just show us your source code while you're at it.
So there. That's true. Okay. But anyway, getting up what people care about, which is Avatar. When I saw Avatar, I was struck by its beauty. And I mean as a beautiful thing. I don't know how else to express it, just as a truly genius work of art. And I told you when we first talked about it, that, for example, the colors, the flying scenes, the sense, all computer generated. No one has ever done it at that scale. Give us a sense of what it took to put that together. How did you get the colors? How did you get the scenes together? What was the technology?
Yeah, it's interesting. When I'm writing it, I have a sense of the potential of what it could be, but it's all on a big out-of-focus image. I'm feeling a sense of strong color. I don't know what the colors are yet, if I can describe it that way. So now, my first step is to work with the artists. And by artists, I'm not talking necessarily about CG artists. It starts with guys with pencils. And now they work primarily in Photoshop, and they do their paintings, their renderings in Photoshop. But you start playing with color, you start playing with form, you start designing the creatures and the plants and all those. And when the walls are covered with artwork, then I feel I can go write the script. I start with a story, then I challenge the artist to start showing me the world, and it slowly comes into focus. And once I know what the creatures look like, what the characters look like, then I wrote the script. Because now I felt I could inhabit that world. And then the script, of course, is the starting point for a more conventional production paradigm where you cast actors and so on. But of course, many of our actors were not actually appearing on sets or appearing in front of a mechanical optical camera. They were being performance captured. And so the biggest risk for us was that the performance capture component of it wasn't going to work, or not work up to a level of complete translation of the human emotional affect.
Of the many things that Avatar invented in the technology of movie making, you invented this thing called performance capture, where people actually have suits on with dots, and using lasers and other technology.
For some time, but it was very kludgy. It didn't really work. So we came up with the idea of image-based capture, where we created a head rig with a little camera on it, that actually basically just shot video of the actor's face, but it was nulled out, it was locked to them as they moved, so it created a kind of fixed data set of the displacement of all their facial muscles and their eyes and so on. And then it was all image analysis algorithms that were used to extract the drivers for the mesh of the CG character after that. But the thing that most people don't understand is it's not about capturing a perfect image of the face. It was actually somewhat sloppy. Sometimes the camera would move around. It was a flawed data set. What was important was to train the system to understand the actor. And we would do that by having the actors read the scenes for the movie in a kind of a matrix of like 12 HD cameras. So we understood how the actors' faces worked. And that cruder data set that we got in the moment when they were performing the scene was really just driving a very, very sophisticated rigging job on the CG character. So the CG character had accounted for all of the neuromuscular kind of system of the actor's face. And the funny part was, every actor was different. So it didn't matter who it was. You couldn't sort of spend 9 months doing one actor and then a month doing the others. It was 9 months for everybody. And curiously, it was 9 months. And before the character came to life, it was not a 9-month process. I don't think movies are going to get made like Avatar, other than movies like Avatar.
Take us through how you've essentially popularized it at a level that no one has done before. So who's going to now make it a volume thing? How's it going to happen to my television? Why will all the cameras have two lenses, that sort of thing?
Right. Well, we see in 3D. It's how we see the world. And so much of our world right now is about screens, about monitors, and how we interact with data, how we sit at screens all day long, and then we go home, and for our relaxation, we watch screens. So this is it's our lives. So
in our case, we sit in front of screens and relax while we're typing.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes multiple screens.
That's right.
So if you can find a way to fundamentally rewrite the contract between human beings and their visual media, then I think that's something that is compelling. So I went down that path, and to me there are no barriers to 3D ubiquity in 5 to 10 years. I think a big breakthrough will be when it comes into the home, which initially will probably be driven by sports and gaming, but also it could be episodic broadcast programming and so on as well. The sets are there. The consumer electronic companies jumped out in front of it and got the sets out there. I think there's a couple of million of them that shipped just this year. Right now there's a dearth of content. So the content providers have to catch up, which means the networks have to start programming in 3D, and they're already coming to the various 3D content makers and saying, how do we do this? Right? And so we're working with different networks in terms of how to get them up to speed and convert their product. It's all a little bit ahead of it right now, because I don't think, the big breakthrough is going to be when it's an auto stereoscopic display.